Broadcasting to the world, this is On Call with Chad McCall. In our show, we bring you inspiration, strategies, and insights on how to start, grow, and scale your business.
It's drastically changed my life.
The show is so informative. I just love it. It's honest. It's helped me grow as a person.
Real talk about life, lifestyle, society, and living limitless. Learning from the top influencers across the world, along with industry experts, authorities for you to live your greatest life. It's time to level up.
I'm ready.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
Here's your host, best-selling author and mentor, Chad McCall.
Welcome to today's episode of On Call, and I am your host, Chad McCall, where every episode I call influencers, experts, and amazing people, and I have them give advice for your life and your business. Today I'll be calling a friend and fellow real estate influencer that has built an 8-figure empire since I first met him. And when I asked him how he did it, you know what he said? Hold on, I'll let you hear what he said. And this call really is going to be about real estate investing, though. It's about building a business, growing, staying focused, and how faith plays a big part in his business and his life. If you want to hear the real estate specific stuff, go to his awesome podcast. It's called Real Estate Investing Mastery. It's been around since the beginning of podcasts, so long, and it is great. So without waiting, let's get started. Hey Siri, will you get Joe McCall on the line?
Hello, Joe.
Joe, it's Chad.
Chad, what's going on, man? How are you?
I'm great. How are you today?
I'm doing good, man. Doing real good.
Well, I've got you on the podcast, so all the listeners. So this is Joe McCall, and I'm Chad McCall, and we're not brothers, just for the record. You know, we have the same last name.
No, we're not related.
and we're not related yet. I don't know. I mean, we got to really do the 1, 2, 3 DNA or whatever those people are. Somehow we may be.
Well, where are your grandparents from, Chad?
My grandparents. I'm born and raised North Carolina, but I think I want to say Scotch Irish or something like that. I did one of those DNA tests, and it said like Western European or something, I think, or Eastern European.
My grandpa, his dad, my grandpa's still alive. He's mid-90s. His dad came here from Scotland. Oh, what's the town in Scotland? Elgin, 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 Scotland.
Okay.
And I was on Google Maps a few months ago, and I was like, I wonder if I went to Elgin, Scotland. So I looked up Elgin, Scotland. It's in northern Scotland, real small little town. And I typed in McCall into the Google Maps. And the craziest thing, all of a sudden, about 2 or 3 stores popped up, like storefronts, popped up with the name McCall. And they were like formal clothing stores with kilts, It's kind of weird. Like they have kilts with tuxedos. It's a formal dress outfit. I don't know what to call it. Right?
Yeah.
I've never worn a kilt in my life, but that's the. There's actual stores there, McCall Clothing, and there's about 2 or 3 different ones. Crazy.
Well, we're gonna have to get together one day, and we're gonna have a picture of the 2 McCalls in a kilt. Just for the heck of it.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, listeners, you're in for a treat today. Joe McCall is not only entrepreneur, started out solopreneur, scaled your business to 8 figures. And that's kind of what I want to talk to you about today, Joe, is just the mind of an entrepreneur first and what clicked for you when you got started with this business. Because you've been doing this for what, like 12 years? Tell me a little bit about how the starting point.
This goes way back to 2006. I was at I bought a course. We've talked about this before. I bought a course from, I bought a guy's book. What was his name? Used to work with him.
Yeah, Robert. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And he had a book called The Secrets of a Millionaire Landlord, I believe is what it was. And the book, it's a long story, but I had a rental property that was just a nightmare, horrible experience. And somebody recommended his book, and in there he had a chapter about lease options and how you can actually put a tenant buyer into your house who wants to buy it, and they're going to take better care of it. So I got real excited about lease options. This is in 2005, 2006. And so I forget what happened. I went to his website, signed up for some things, applied for coaching, got on the phone with you, That was 14 or 15 years ago.
Gosh, I can't believe it's been that
And I
long.
thought, yeah, I thought, man, this is crazy. Last name McCall. So anyway, I signed up for Robert's coaching program, and you were on some of those calls, I believe,
Yeah.
and with Robert, and that kind of started my real estate career. You know, I formed my LLC. For me at the time, that was the start of my business. I really didn't do much for about 3 years, though. Um, I, I was just, and I look back, and I have over on my bookshelf, if I'm looking over here on my right, and I still have the courses and the manuals that they sent me for that. PREIG, I think it
Mhm.
was, or whatever. They probably don't even exist anymore. And I was fishing through that stuff the other day, and I keep it there to remind me because um, it was not because I didn't do a deal for 3 years because the education was bad or because I didn't have the right teacher or the right instructions or whatever. I was just so afraid to take any action with what I was learning. And I remember I went through the program, and the coach that was assigned to me, I forget his name, but every week he would ask me, "Okay, Joe, did you do this? Did you do that? You said you were going to do this?" And every week is like, "No, man, I'm getting to it. I'm busy. I had a full-time job. I had a couple little kids." And I kept on putting it off. And I had a ton of questions. I kept on asking all the what if questions. I kept on worrying about steps 7 and 8 before I'd even done steps 1 and 2. Right. And so I look back and I see that over and over again, even today, because I started doing deals in 2009. I quit my job because I was starting having some real success, but that was real foundational for me. And I don't know what it was, why I didn't take any action with all of that stuff that I learned. It was definitely 100% my fault. And I'm always trying to challenge people, like you got to get out of your own way, and you've got to stop being afraid to make mistakes. You just got to do it. And that was, 15 years ago. It's crazy.
So something clicked in 2009. It sounds like that you said, you know what? I quit my full-time job. I mean, talk about freaking out. I mean, coming from full-time W-2, going into solopreneurship. And a lot of people that listen to this are solopreneurs, side hustlers, starting their own business. And that's a big step for them. So can you think of like what it was that clicked that gave you the confidence to quit and go into something full-time? Because it seemed like it
Oh,
was
yeah.
hard to get started, but something had to click for you.
Well, I was a professional student for 3 years, right? Like I'd bought tons of courses and programs. I was going to the boot camps. I knew what to do. I was just petrified and afraid to do anything. But it wasn't until my back was against the wall and I kind of got fired from my job, although I was already interviewing for another job because my heart wasn't into it, and my employer knew it. They're like, "Joe, we can tell that you're not here when you're here, and you're doing something else, right?" And I was trying to do real estate stuff on the side, and so I knew I had to make a decision: either do real estate or do my job that I was hired to do. Right? I was getting good performance reviews, um, but I was just doing the bare minimum of what I had to do, and I wasn't giving it my whole heart, which I think you should, is if when you're an employee and you're working for somebody else. So my goal was to have 6 months of reserves in savings before I quit my job doing real estate. But I that was way too hard for me to do that because um I don't know, for some reason I couldn't at the time figure out how to do that. But as an alternative, my wife supported me the whole way too, which is really, really important. But like I knew, okay, well, if I can do deals consistently over 3 months, if I can do deals for at least 3 months where the income I'm making from doing these deals part-time is at least replaces my income on my job, then I can quit my job. So 3 months consistently in a row, I made more money flipping these deals. I was wholesaling and doing lease options. So that's when I knew I could quit my job. And that was in the spring of 2009. At the peak of the recession, everybody is afraid to lose their jobs, and I'm quitting mine because I just saw the opportunity, the incredible opportunity that was there, and there was so much. It was so much easier making money doing real estate than working my job. I was frustrated because I felt like, with my job, people think that's a safe thing to do, right? Get a job, stay with one employer, build a retirement account. I looked at that as being the riskiest thing to do, because at any one day I could get a pink slip, I could get fired. And what? Then if I got another job, I mean, I was an engineer, I knew I could get another job, but I would probably have to move. No matter how hard I worked, I got paid the same every 2 weeks, right? If I was lucky, I got a 3% raise at the end of the year. They had some profit sharing, quote unquote, that I had, but that was nothing. And they didn't have to give that to me. Some years I didn't get any. So I just wanted kind of to control my own destiny in a certain sense, where I didn't want to have to answer to a boss or be dependent on working for somebody else, working 50, 60 hours a week. No matter how much profit I brought into the bottom line of the company, I still got paid the same. So I thought I'd rather work for myself. It was something in my blood. It's hard to explain. I just wanted to do that.
I like to think about talking to entrepreneurs that have done some of the same things that you've done. Education, did that give you confidence? Because you said you were a professional student for 3 years. Because there's some people that are just, they want to go do something, but they're new into that. That's an idea. It hasn't been tested and proven and things like that. Because I'm
Yeah.
going to get into what you do as a business, but what you did, you created a strategy, a concept that not really many people that I know of do it, if any, other than yourself. But there's people they have those ideas in their mind now. They know it, but getting it out there to the world, like having confidence in yourself to go implement it and do it, because there's no help. You're on your own island when you go out there on your own to do it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm still a professional student in the sense I'm always studying and buying, investing in myself, in my education. But
Mhm.
it came to a point where I knew I had to start implementing, actually start taking action with this stuff. And my back was against the wall because with the crash, I did have some houses and I was losing, some of my investment properties to foreclosure because I had tons of vacancies all of a sudden. And I had borrowed a bunch of private money. So I was on the verge of bankruptcy and I was hemorrhaging cash on all these properties. I had done a couple rehabs at the worst time and I lost those to foreclosure because I couldn't sell them. I put too much money into the rehab. I couldn't sell them. I had a bunch of rental properties that all of a sudden, I'd had 12 or 13 of them. I forget the exact number. And I would have 3 vacancies in 1 month. And when you're talking about 3 properties not getting any rent for 1 or 2 months, that can wipe out all of your reserves. And it doesn't matter what the spreadsheet tells you. I was hemorrhaging cash. So I think my back was against the wall. I needed cash so bad that I said, screw it. I'm going to make this work. I'm going to jump off this building and figure out how to fly as I fall, as it were. I'm not going to worry about getting all my questions answered. So I remember I bought one more, guys. I bought one more course from this guy, a friend of mine. You might know him, Chris Chico. I said, I'm going to buy one more course. I'm just going to do what this guy says. And I'm not going to change anything. I'm just going to do what he says to do. And it was a course about, called strategy and real estate investing, called wholesaling. And I sent his postcards. I didn't like them. I thought they were ugly. I sent them to the list that he said to send them to. I used his script that he said to use. I used his contract, and I didn't like any of it. But I thought I knew better because I had all of these courses and all these years of training and stuff. But I said, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to trust the system. I'm going to trust the process. I did what he said, and I did a deal, and I could not believe that it actually worked. And that's the crazy thing. I was like, wow, it actually worked. It's not supposed to happen it's not supposed to be like this easy. I thought it was going to be really, really hard. So I got excited. I got fired up. I started doing a bunch of deals. And that's just kind of where I started going. And then I got into this passion of teaching other people. I knew early on, I wanted to teach other people how to do this stuff as well with me. And so I remember early on, even before I quit my job, I started listening to podcasts about starting internet businesses. And I knew I wanted to create a podcast teaching people how to do this stuff that I was doing because I knew I could help other people. So I about 2 years after I quit my job, I started a podcast, and I had a lot of people started asking me to train them and teach them how to do what I was doing. So I created a course. I started selling the course. Probably 3 years after I quit my job, I started actually coaching people and helping them. I remember being so scared. I only charged like $1,500 for 6 months of coaching. And I would actually meet them in person. I would meet them at a coffee shop and once a week I would have sit down with them for an hour. Like, I couldn't believe it. And I realized pretty quickly that got old fast. But anyway, that's kind of how my entrepreneur journey started. I just wanted to work for myself. And I said,
And a lot of people, they're in that same boat. Like right now, it's thinking about they have a system that it's in their mind. They want to create and get out there to the world a product, a concept, or those things, regardless of what industry it's in. You and I, share that common
yeah,
real estate, just love and passion for what we do and teaching it. But some of the listeners have other types of business, not just in our industry, and it's the mind that they have to get it out there to the world and understand that teaching it, but you got to get started. Like, what's some advice you'd give for those, solopreneurs or side hustlers, people that are really because right now we're in some
yeah.
unprecedented times, right? With the economy, there's so many things going on, and there's people that are
Hmm.
scared and people that are losing their jobs. They're having to, change a career path, or their business is gone, their dream. Now it's time to start that new dream or that other business or something else. What's some advice you'd give new people starting right now?
Well, that's a good question. If you want to get into the business of helping other people and get paid for it, you got number one, got to make sure you can do it yourself well, right? And then number two, you need testimonials. You need to go out and help somebody for free if you have to get some case studies and proof that what you actually do and teach actually works, not just for you, but for other people as well. And that's what I started doing. I started coaching other people and I started seeing that they were having results. And I started then growing my education publishing business because I could say, look, this is what's worked for me and this is what's worked for these clients here. And even if you have to do it for free, um, start getting those testimonials. So I guess first, my to answer the question, if you're doing something that's working for you and is working well, and you have I don't know what to call it really, but the educator's itch, like if you want to help other people do the same thing, if you want to start teaching other people to do the same thing, then start creating content, create a blog, write up a blog, write a book, create a podcast, start a YouTube channel or something, and just start teaching and sharing what you're doing. And if somebody asks you for some help, if you're brand new, charge them a little bit of money or help them for free and use them as case studies and then just start growing it from there. Um, that's for me, I guess, what I was actually doing the business, doing deals. I'm still doing deals today, but I definitely get way more excitement and pleasure and it's more fulfilling to see one of my students or clients doing deals. Like, I get more excited seeing a student do their first deal, make 3, 4, 5 grand, which is small in real estate. And if I did my own deal and made 20, 30 grand, that's cool. But I just deposited a check, don't really do anything with it. It's not a big deal. But if I have a student that makes 3 grand on a deal, man, I'm walking around the house giving my kids high five. I'm sharing it on social media. Like, it's exciting. I love doing that. And that's for me personally where I get my real joy and fulfillment in business.
And I'm taking away that anyone that's sitting here listening or thinking about their business or their industry that they want to get into or their product that they just love, it's being able to edify that you do what you're teaching or you're out there showing the world that you do it, you're living it, you're breathing. Because a lot of people ask me all the time, they're like, Chad, why do you help people? Why are you coaching or why are you mentoring? And I mean, it takes so much time. And I'm like, do you realize that it keeps us so sharp? Like, why do I have conversations with people like Joe McCall? And, I'm going to bring that up here in a minute where I'm going with masterminds and people that are in the business of what we do. Why we do this, we have to stay sharp and hone our craft. You can't just get complacent. And I think that's what some people aren't realizing. You don't just get started out there. You got to get started. You got to start teaching. You start doing it, but then you got to stay sharp in doing it because the markets and everything starts to shift and change over time. It never stays the same, right? How many things have changed since you got into, when you created your concept, your idea? It changes all the time.
Oh, tons of things have changed. And you know what? I learn more from my students than you would ever realize. Like, I learn new things all the time from my students, and they challenge me to be sharp and stay sharp. So I'm constantly testing new things. Like right now, I'm testing some new marketing strategies for different real estate deals. I'm always looking for what are the new trends, the new things that are cutting edge of like what's happening in the industry, because I want to be able to help, my podcast listeners and my students and stuff like that, and show them what's working. I'm finding guys that are maybe doing some new strategies or having some success, and because markets go through cycles, and different cycles there's different things that work better than other things. So I find I'm a better investor because I teach and coach people, and I'm just a student of the market. And that reminded me, the other thing to answer your earlier question was, what are things that you can do to do this? And I think it's really important to invest in yourself, to invest in your education, even though I'm kind of using it maybe as a negative mark against me that I was a professional student for 3 years before actually ever doing deals. But I still invest in my education. I'm still investing in learning the business and learning from other people that are more successful than me. I'm a big proponent of investing in your education, getting a coach, finding people that are better than you at what you want to do, and hiring them for help, modeling what they're doing, um, just finding what other people are doing that you want to do, and just copying it. Because right, it's there's really no secrets in this business
Yeah,
anymore.
there's not a new idea. The ideas are out there a lot of times. It's what makes it better is the new side, right? Is you take an existing idea and you tweak it, right? So what about people, Joe, that have been in the business? Because you and I both talk to people that are they know a lot. They think they know everything. They're entrepreneurs or CEOs or business owners like, well, I know I know my craft. No one's going to be able to teach me. I've been doing it for 30 years. I don't want to, someone that's been doing it for 5 isn't going to be able to teach me what I've been doing for 30. How do people get over that stumbling block of being able to be open to new ideas and new concepts if they're very seasoned in the field?
Oh man, you got to be. Well, I think you got to be open to staying on top of your game. Like, we all know people that were really successful in the real estate education space 10 years ago, that are nowhere to be found today. They're completely irrelevant. And maybe they disappear from the map, and you don't hear anything from them. And then they try to get back in, and everybody's like, who are you? Like certain people that were really well known 10 years ago, 8 years ago, 5 years ago. And I don't know what it is, but I always look at that thinking, I don't want to be that guy. Like, I don't want to be that guy who just sits on his laurels, and thinks that, okay, what's working now is always going to work forever, and is not willing to change. A book that had a big influence on me
Great
was,
book.
I read it in 2001. It's called Who Moved My Cheese? And that whole idea of the cheese is moving, and you need to know, you need to be constantly looking to see where the cheese is moving to. And I want to be the guy who's in his 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, that is still um, learning and being learning and educating myself and knowing the new
Oh yeah,
strategies and the
and
new
I
techniques.
think with you
I
doing
always
that,
want
this
to be that
leads.
student.
My
That's
next
my
question
goal.
was going to go. I mean,
Does that
this
make
is
sense?
perfect timing for it. Is being able to be that student, growing, being open to learning, that is the separation that I think it takes you from 6 figures to 7 figures. Because there's a gap. Like some people are starting out fresh and they're like, how do I get 6 figures? But then there's others that are saying, how do I get to 7? And then like
Uh-huh.
getting to 8 figures in your business. And from when you started from just an idea, Joe, to like you would have never, if I would have talked to you, I mean, originally, if me speaking with you so many years ago, say in 2006, if I called you again, if I could replay that phone call we had to say, hey,
Mm,
Joe, in 10, 15 years or whatever from now, and you are going to be making 8 figures. I know you are in a business. I don't know what, if I just said that, you'd have been like, you're so crazy. What are you selling me? You know what I mean? But
yeah.
if we look like now, look at you did it. And so many people
Yeah.
think that it's so far away to do. So what do you think can get someone to really break down the barrier of their limiting beliefs? I
Hmm.
think of saying, you can hit 8 figures, you can hit 7 figures, you can hit 6 figures. You got to be open to it though. Like, what's that transition to go from 6 to 7?
That's a good question. I think it's pig-headed discipline. Just being stubborn. Like, I'm going to figure this out. One time you got to have that dogged persistence. Like I'm not going to quit. No way. One time I was taking we wanted to rent kayaks because I was living in San Francisco and I wanted to be able to rent kayaks to go out on Lake Tahoe. The thing is, when you're riding a kayak in Lake Tahoe or you're going down one of the rivers in a kayak, you make one mistake and you could die in a couple minutes, right? Because the water's so freaking cold. Well, you have to take a class to learn how to ride the kayaks for a lot of these rental companies to rent you these kayaks or whatever. So I took there's a special class for longer kayaks for whatever reason. I don't know why, but like we took this class in the Bay Area, in the Bay. And one of the things to do to pass this class to get your license or your permit or whatever, I forget, this is so long ago. You had to turn the kayak over, get out, and then get back in the kayak. And so I did that. And I could not, like everybody else in the class of maybe 12 people did it, but I could not do it. And I was just for 30, 45 minutes, just kept on trying and trying and trying. I was like, what is wrong with me? I can't do this. But I kept on trying. And finally, they were telling me, Joe, you need to do it now because the tide's coming out and we're going to be stuck out here. We're not going to be able to go back. If we don't leave in like 5 minutes or something like that. And so I was just refusing to quit. And my wife was even telling me, okay, Joe, just quit. Finally, I did it. And then we start paddling back in. And something didn't feel right, whatever. So anyway, my instructor said, what's going on with your kayak? And he opened one of the compartments and it was filled with water. And it wasn't supposed to be filled with water. And the reason why I was having this hard time flipping this kayak over is because there was so much water in it in one of the compartments or whatever. And I don't know what it is, but I just refuse to quit and give up. So I think one of the reasons why I've had the success that I have is I've got to figure it out. And a lot of it is God's grace. Like God has helped me and anything that I have is a gift from him. That's what I believe. Right. So, but I think he's also helped me with just a dogged determination and a persistence. I think another big key to it is momentum. Cause I've been through phases where my income is kind of plateaued. And I'm telling my students all the time in the real estate side of the business, like if you want to make a lot of money in this business, you need to make a lot of offers, right? That's the number one rule in business. Make offers, make offers, make offers. And I was applying that to people in wanting to do real estate. But that same thing applies to people in business. And it doesn't matter what business you're in. You need to be making offers every day. There's a great book. I think you've probably read it. Ready, Fire, Aim by Masterson, I think is the name. Does that name ring a bell? That's one of the things that he harps on the first few chapters of any business that you're starting. That is the number one thing you should be focusing on is marketing and sales. And forget about building your product. You just need to focus on marketing and sales. So anyway, for me, the momentum, I realized if I'm going to get out of this plateau and if I want to start making more money in real estate and in my publishing business and coaching business, I need to make more offers. I need to do what I'm telling other people to do. And so I just hammered down and started making a lot of offers, doing a lot of content, podcasts, and videos, and emails. And I just got over the resistance that I had in my brain that like people don't want to be sold to, or people don't want offers to be made to them. And I just started doing it anyway. And every single day I started making offers. I'm selling something. I'm selling a deal. I'm selling an information product, a special video series, a book that I've done, or a class or a coaching program. I'm constantly selling something. And ever since I figured that out, I've broken through multiple different plateaus and I'm doing better than I ever have right now with income and revenue in my business. And I'm having a much bigger impact than I've ever had in the past. Does that make
Yeah.
sense,
Oh, yeah.
Chad?
We talked about that, and I see what I understand what you're saying right now, and I think too people that are listeners right now pay attention to this. Is they sometimes when you're getting out there into the world with this product, there's a separation, Joe, that people are having, and especially entrepreneurs and side hustlers, like, well, all right, I've got a book. I want to sell my book. I get my book out there. I focus on my book. I have a book. But then they're like, well, I need to have my next program. Then there's that disconnect. They're like, well, no one wants that program. No one wants to know, everybody wants my keto book, in other words, for example, if that's what they have, but they don't want my keto diet training on how I transformed. So they look at it as another wall, and they got to break down those little walls. It
Mm,
all works as part of the plan together, I think. And I think just like in real
yeah.
estate, you get to the point where, hey, I have the concept, I've got the course. Okay. But then I have the training piece, and then I have the event piece. I think those, it shouldn't be that hard in your mind after you've broken down that first barrier. But sometimes we create those walls and we don't know how to value ourselves too, I think, as well as what people are seeing.
Yeah, that's a great question. One of my favorite guys is that I follow is Russell Brunson, and he's written some. I always recommend his books, and,
Oh,
and
yeah.
he's written some
Yep.
really good books. One of them was three. There's three of them in a trilogy.
I'm looking at the trilogy right now on my desk. I got the books and I got the audio books. I don't even know why. I have them all. I'm looking at it right here.
.com Secrets, Expert Secrets, and Traffic Secrets. Really, really good books. If anybody's interested in just creating a business where you're helping people, you're selling information, you're selling advice, you have a product or a service that can help people and change their lives. You got to, number one, believe that it actually works. Like, you got to believe that what you're doing and teaching can make a huge difference and an impact in people's lives. And if it does, you have a duty, you have a responsibility to sell that as hard as you can to the entire world, right? Like, that's what I believe. I believe that I'm not going to sell anything that is junk, that doesn't work, that doesn't help people. And so, um, I believe that what I do and what I teach can really have a huge impact and make a difference in people's lives. I mean, it can help people, spend more time with their family and help them build generational wealth and quit their jobs and do what the work that God's called them to do. Like, I've had story after story of people that I've helped who have quit their jobs and was able to go do some kind of community service, or go into the ministry or missionary work, or go travel around the world, because they have a real estate business or an online business that can support their income, gives them the freedom to do what they really, really want to do. So I believe it passionately in what I'm doing and teaching, and I know it can make a huge difference in my life. So I have a responsibility to sell my stuff, and I feel like it's an obligation. It's a responsibility. It's a heavy responsibility on me. And so I long ago got rid of the fear of selling things, right? Like, I thought, I know what I have can help people, so I need to sell it and I need to make offers. So I just went deep and heavy into content marketing, right? Started doing podcasts every 3 times a week. Um, Videos, I'm starting to do more of those. Taking my content, turning them into assets. Like, I'll do a video series on something and I'll turn it into a book and I'll sell the book for $7. And the good thing about what Russell does is he teaches you, okay, now that you've got this really good book, if somebody's going to buy that book, they're probably going to want to buy something else that you have, right? So create something else. Maybe from the book, a $500 course, an online course for $500, teaching them how to do in more detail what you taught them in the book. And then maybe sell a coaching program or a mastermind or something after that that can actually work closer with them one-on-one and hold their hand, or put them in a group that can help them. So anyway, I love the publishing business, the education business. Still do deals because I feel like you have to keep your knife sharp. You have to kind of know what's going on in the industry. Um, but those are two good books to start with. Another one of my favorite guys that I like to follow, his name is Frank Kern, and kind of related to everything that we're talking about. He says there's two rules of business, the two commandments of business, and you guys should Google this YouTube video, Frank Kern, two commandments of business. And one of them, and I'll use the clean version because he likes to cuss. The clean version is, number one, stop farting around. Stop farting around, because We're going out there buying course after course after course. We're not doing anything with it, right? And you get all this education. You watch all these YouTube videos and podcasts, and you're not doing anything with what you're learning. If somebody were to hold a gun to your head and say, all right, build a website, or start an LLC, or start that podcast, whatever it is that you want to do, or make the offer on that house. Well, if they got a gun in your head and you got 30 minutes to do it, right? You're going to figure out a way to do it. You're going to go to YouTube and say, all right, how do I fill out a contract? You're going to find a contract. You're going to go to Office Depot or Staples, whatever it is now, and you're going to find one of those generic contracts out there. Or you're just going to shoot. You could Google real estate contract right now and go to images and find hundreds of different contracts. You're going to print one out and you're going to fill it out and you're going to write your offer out, right? You're going to go to YouTube. You're going to, like, how do I buy a domain? And you're going to go to GoDaddy. You're going to buy a domain and you're going to figure out how to build that website. You might even just go to Fiverr and pay somebody $5 to build you this stupid website. Well, like, we're just farting around. We're not taking it seriously. We know what we need to do, but we're like, I need to go buy another course, right? They're always chasing these magic red pills. So that's number one commandment, is stop farting around. The second commandment is stop being a sissy. Like, now you know what you need to do, but we're too afraid to do it. Like, we'll go and spend tens of thousands of dollars on education, which I was doing, right? I still am, but like at the time I was afraid to take any action. I'd go spend tens and thousands of dollars on education and courses and books and boot camps and stuff like that. But I was petrified of spending $500 or $1,000 on a direct mail campaign, or scared to death to spend $1,000 on Facebook ads or something like that, right? Well, we're just being sissies. We're too afraid. So and that kind of relates to anybody, no matter what business you're in. Like, number one, stop farting around. Number two, stop being so afraid. Stop being a sissy. Go check out those videos on YouTube. It's a one video on YouTube. It's about 3 to 4 minutes long, but I find that Kearney has a funny way of just simplifying these things and making it a lot more obvious and plain to see. Does that make sense?
Well, he's a master of marketing. Oh yeah, he's master of marketing and sales too. And you actually said a couple times during our call, Joe. You mentioned faith, and you mentioned, just there's another, like, there's a higher power. I can tell that, and from knowing you also, that I know that faith's a big part of your life. I wanted to talk about that. How important is your faith in business? Because usually I don't talk religion or anything like that, but I always believe, if someone asks me, I'll say, you know what, God, he's the ultimate landlord. He owns everything, the bodies that we're living in daily. He's the ultimate real estate investor. He owns it all. But you have to have faith sometimes, because I've had to dig down, man, and really think about it. And, if you pray, or ask for, strength. I don't ask for, answers to questions, but I ask for strength to guide me through those decisions that I make in life. And I mean, I know that I do that versus say, hey, give me the answer to this. I know I'm going to make my own answer. It's what I believe we have the feeling to make those choices. But in your life and your experience in business and going through the ups and downs, and because everything's not always easy in the beginning, but now as you keep going, faith is still important. Faith just wasn't important to you back in 2006 when you got started, right? It's always been something there for you. Talk about faith in business for just a second.
Well, my faith is really important to me, and it's more than just going to church on Sunday for me. I try to read the Bible every morning. The way I look at it, my perspective is, it's all God's anyways. Like, we're just stewards here. And so I want to do the best with the resources that God's given me. And I'm constantly asking God for wisdom, because I believe he gives it, and he wants to give you wisdom, and he wants to help you make the right decisions. Because, like, I have 4 kids. I have 5-6 employees. I have a lot of responsibility, not as much as some people, I guess, maybe, but like, I want to be just a good steward. I want to be that guy where he says, well done, good and faithful servant, right? And that's my big giant goal in life, is to be, to honor God and to help people. So I think, and that drives everything that I do, right? Because I want to be, I want to make a difference and leave an impact. And I think faith is a huge part of that. And I don't think you can divorce business from faith. Because like here, I don't want to be that guy who, like Sam Walton from Walmart, when his dying words were, "I blew it." Right? Sam Walton, one of the most successful, iconic entrepreneur, businessman, one of the wealthiest people the world has ever known, right? On his deathbed says, "I blew it." And you look at your life, are you going to be that guy or that girl who, when you're dying, you're like, man, I wish I would have done more. I wish I would have spent more time with my family. I wish I would have made a difference in people's lives. I wish I wouldn't have lived for just myself. I think with Sam Walton, I don't know where he was at the time, but like, it was probably, he was looking back over his life thinking, I spent way too much time at work. He was probably a workaholic, probably working 80 hours a week. His business, Walmart, consumed everything, and he didn't have a relationship with his kids. And he's probably looking at the precipice of eternity and thinking, "Oh man, I wasted my life." I don't want to be that guy who looks back and thinks, "I wasted my entire life." And that's different for everybody, right? God's called us to different things. He's given everybody different gifts and talents. And there's a story in the Bible that I've just reading recently that really convicts me a lot. Like, he gives one guy 5 talents of silver, and each talent is about 7 years of income, of wages. So one guy gets like 35 years of wages, I think it is. Don't quote me on that, but like, he gets 5 huge bags of silver, right? And another guy gets 2 bags of silver. And then one guy gets just 1 bag of silver. And he says, all right, I'm going to go. And it's a king. He's telling a story. And the king's going to go and travel. And he says, I'm going to come back. And so he's giving them this money to go and invest and do something with it. And the one who had the 2 bags of silver, or 5, comes back and gives God, the king, his 5 silver back, 5 bags, and then plus another 5. It's like, here, and the king says, well done, good and faithful servant. Now I'm going to bless you. You've been faithful with the little things. I'm going to make you in charge of like many things. Right. And I don't know what that means or what that looks like. Does that mean like you have some giant kingdom in heaven or something like that? I don't know. I don't know what that means, but like, this guy gets this huge giant reward because he was faithful with the little things that God gave him. And, 35, 70 years worth of wages, like, that's a lot of money. That's millions of dollars. That's a little thing to God. Right. And the guy who was only given 2 bags of silver, he gives that back to God, the 2 bags plus 2 more. And God says the same thing to that guy. It says, well done, those same exact words to that guy. So, well done, good and faithful servant. You've been faithful with the little things. I'm going to put you in charge of many things. And then that guy gets a big giant reward. I don't know how that works. But the one guy who had the 1 bag of silver, all he did was he went and buried that in the ground, didn't do anything with it. And, he gets condemned by God later. He comes back and gives God the money back, right? Because it's all his. You couldn't do anything with it anyway. You can't squander. It's all his. But like, he didn't do anything with it. And his life was completely wasted. And, he goes into condemnation. And after that, and so I don't know if God's given me 2 bags of silver or 5 bags of silver, but whatever he's given me, like, he's given me enough. He's given me exactly what I can handle. And I take that super seriously. And I want to be that well done, good and faithful servant guy. That's my giant goal. And I'm not perfect by any means. Like, I'm not going to beat somebody over the head with the Bible. And I am far from perfect, but I'm hoping that I am at least a small example of light in the world, of God's grace.
And I believe we've been given these talents to Joe, like you, myself, like our paths have crossed so many times since many years ago, and look at where we've came back to now after meeting so long ago and what we're doing and still doing some things. But again, we're leading a life to where we're doing things like giving back more. And I think with faith, that brings in the ability to help others and, be involved in charities and, giving back. When you reach a level of success and you're asking for that guidance and you're making these decisions and you're doing the right things, to the best of our ability with, the blessings that we're giving, and we're helping other people, I think it just gets rewarded. We're doing the best we can with the intent that we have is good, and then we're able to help other people. And some
Mhm.
of the things we do, like with Robert, me learning how to, that was my chance to learn how to give back and help kids in other countries. And we all reach a point where it's a blessing to, I mean, how you feel of help, like you mentioned, helping students reach success. And then imagine anybody on this phone call, when you reach a level of success and you're helping people, then you get to a point where there's another level where you're helping others, and you're doing that, you're giving back, you're doing these selfless acts. Like, I think sometimes that's what it's all about,
I like that, and we have a bigger purpose,
and doing more.
and we can make a difference and an impact in people's
Yeah.
lives. Let's not waste it.
Well, and Joe, you're making an impact. You've helped the listeners on here today, entrepreneurs, side hustlers, people that are solopreneurs, like we all started out, right? Just ourselves, operations of one. Um, you've gave great tips, advice, get educated, stay educated, get your message out there, how to do it, how to go from 6, 7 to 8 figures. I hope there's a lot of people are taking away a lot of things from this call, like I am. And I always enjoy talking to you and catching up and the advice you can share. How can my listeners follow Joe McCall, learn more about your strategies, the principles and practices that you're teaching? What's the best way for them to follow you?
Yeah, thanks, man. I have a podcast. Realestateinvestingmastery.com. Real Estate Investing Mastery. And been doing that podcast almost 10 years now. And something I just enjoy doing. I do 2 to 3 episodes a week. And the last couple of weeks, I've only done 1 episode a week, but I've been doing that for a long time. And that's a good place to go if you're interested in real estate. I have my website, joemccall.com. People can go and check out, and I have a bunch of free stuff on there that you can check out. And I wrote a book that I think might be helpful to a lot of people. It's called REI Secrets. And for a long time, about 3 or 4 years, I would do these little podcast episodes in my car that were 5 to 10 minutes long. And I would transcribe those episodes and turn them into emails. And I'd send these emails out every day. And then I turned them into a book. And the book is called REI Secrets, Secrets and Keys for Generating, what was it? Getting More Leads. I forget. Anyway, it's a real good book. I just forget the subtitle. I'm looking for it on my shelf and I don't see it right now. But anyway, you can get that book for free. Just pay a little bit of shipping and handling at reisecrets.com. reisecrets.com. You can't buy it on Amazon either.
All right, got it. Well, you have your other book, Wholesaling Lease Options. I mean, that's another awesome one. That's what I'm going to have you back on, and we're going to talk about that because of what the economy is doing and everything else, and really talk advanced, real estate stuff for people. But today's call
Yeah,
was
cool.
awesome about what I wanted to get, and how you can give advice to these entrepreneurs. But I appreciate your time. But before I let you go, I got to ask you my top 3 questions that no one's going to know about you on Google or Wikipedia or about pages. None of that. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. First one is, if you're to look down at your phone at your playlist, the last song you were listening to is what?
It was a song by a worship church, a church called Elevation Worship. Well, the album is called Graves into Gardens. Graves into Gardens by Elevation Worship. It's a church out in North Carolina. When we're done here, I'll text you a link to that song. It's called Rattle.
All right. Next question is, what's your favorite movie?
I got a couple of them. Les Miserables. I don't know how to pronounce it. Les Miserables. But the one that Liam Neeson did, it was like in the 90s or something, or early 2000s. Really awesome story of redemption. And then the other movie was Life is Beautiful. And you got to watch it in the Italian version with the English subtitles. Life is Beautiful and Les Miserables.
I didn't think I would hear Life is Beautiful as one of those, and I did. This is the second time I've heard that. Very interesting.
Have you seen the movie?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I have.
Man, if you got kids, it'll just tear your heart apart.
Great movie. Last one. What is your pet's name?
Got two of them, Daisy and Willow.
Daisy and Willow. Well, Joe McCall, thank you so much for the time you spent today. I really appreciate it. And all the listeners, make sure you follow Joe McCall, social media, Instagram, all the above. And also reisecrets.com is another great way to get connected and get a copy of Joe's book. So again, Joe, thank you, buddy. I appreciate the time today.
Yeah, Chad.
And don't forget, you're always on call.
Thank you for listening, and we hope you enjoyed today's episode. Don't forget to subscribe, and remember, friends, you are always on call.